Donald Trump's been in office for a while now. Do you think the perception of Make America Great Again, and I'll start with you, Brent, has changed at all? Do people still feel exactly what you're saying here, your perspective, and then I'll give you a chance to respond to. Do you think that has evolved at all, or is it still a polarizing statement?
I think it's very much a polarizing statement at this point. Whereas some people may have evolved slightly on the subject matter, for myself, I feel as though there's a certain baseline, and how I interpreted "Make America Great" was it was a slogan that was full of. It was code. It was code for let's go back to a certain era again where folks weren't able to sit at the table. And so for myself, that's I can't change. I'm not going to evolve on that. And so for myself, I still view it the same way. Some folks may have come along in different groups, but I would imagine that the overwhelming majority of folks that felt that way or felt similar to myself still feel the same way at this point.
Jai, I'll ask you the same question, also understanding that Kanye said that he put the hat on, Make America Great Again, and that he wanted to make a statement somewhat in line with what you said that started the conversation. So how do you think it's evolved, and do you think Kanye's right there?
Well, I think it is still very much a polarizing statement. Remember, what I said is how I felt Donald Trump meant it,
yes,
versus how I felt the people who followed him meant it.
Yes.
And so when I look at the statement, I think it is still very polarizing, and I think, well, in my practice, I feel from the police contact with black people, it has become, we have went back. We have went back to those times when maybe America was great for other communities, but it's not so great for the black community. In the way we contact police and the prosecutions, the offers that are being made, the charges that are being filed, I feel in the last year and a half things have gotten worse, at least in LA County. So I don't think it's evolved much. I think the people who felt empowered by that statement feel more empowered now than they did when Donald Trump was running.
Okay, I'd just like to follow up on that a little bit more. As you said that Donald Trump meant it one way, and the people that follow him saw it another way. Do you not think that Donald Trump knew that when he was running for president?
I'm not sure he gave it consideration when he first said it, but I know for a fact it was, he knew that once the campaign got started, and that sentiment got attached to that statement because he was asked about it. So he was certainly aware of that sentiment as it related to the Make America Great Again. But I don't have enough information to say that was his plan from the beginning.
Brett, could you comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you put out, he knew, and I would say that the candidate at the time knew exactly what he was doing it and doubled down on it and tripled down on it. Whether it was all throughout the South Carolina primaries or all throughout the South, where he outperformed. And the reason why he outperformed in many of these regions was because he was feeding red meat to an audience that soaked up every last word. And the more rabid he went and the more aggressive he went, drag him out, take that guy out on a stretcher. Yeah. And so people were getting excited. And so he knew at a certain point, once well beyond that first primary, that this is good. They love it. And I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna drive it all the way home. And he did that all throughout the former Confederacy in the South, or all throughout the various regions where he overperformed more so than his Republican predecessors. So he knew it was strategic, and that was his approach all throughout the campaign.
Well, I have another question for you, Jai, because I'm trying to figure out how Kanye West, and I don't want to make him the polarizing part of this conversation, but how can he say, I love Donald Trump and Donald Trump's doing great for us, understanding some of the comments just made by Brett?
Well, I don't recall hearing Kanye West saying Donald Trump is doing great for us. I didn't hear him speak on any of Donald Trump's policies except when he said sometimes it takes a crazy person to get things done. That's the only, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the only statement I heard related to Donald Trump policies or what he's doing as president. But him saying, I love this man, we're cool, we were just, I have cousins who I take their calls from prison. You know, I have friends who have never been caught but may be doing something, but I still love them as individuals, and I speak my piece to them, but this is an individual person. And so I can understand being cool with somebody or having love for somebody that you don't even have the same political affiliation with.
Yeah, and that's understandable. And I believe Kanye did make a few statements about what the president has done for business and for giving tax breaks to the rich, because he said he's rich, and that's what he cares about. And so we have to understand and take some of the things he says in context. I guess I would love the president if I was rich also, maybe.
Yeah, and you know, you're right. He did say something about getting rid of some of the red tape, some of the bureaucracies to let business flow. He did speak about that. Yeah. I personally have not engaged in business at that level yet, but I can understand from the levels that I have engaged in, sometimes where there's unnecessary blocks that we have to go through, it can be frustrating. So I can understand it from that perspective. I just think it's not the whole story. There's a whole other part of the country that doesn't really understand that aspect of it.
Brett, I'll let you make the last comment on this before I move on to the next question, if you have something else you'd like to add.
Yeah, sure. I think it's a bit different if you have a relative. I think all of us probably have that cousin or that whomever that we're related to. We can't change, our blood relationships. So, if that's a person that you see at the family reunion every summer, it's, hey, how's it going? But when it comes to an individual who you're not related to, and most importantly, I think what's lost here is this is an individual that serves as the leader of the executive branch. This is an individual that has power unknown to most people and will be unknown to most people. And when that individual feels a certain way and then also has the power to back up that through championing policies that are going to outright marginalize and disproportionately affect segments of our community, I don't see how an individual can be friends with that person. I don't see how anybody can be cordial with a guy, especially a person that grew up in Chicago, where a very diverse city, and then it has a very large African American population. And when you have a president, an individual who is championing policies, that are going to adversely impact those people, I don't see how an individual could be friends with that person. I couldn't be a friend with that person at all.
I just love Trump. That's my boy.
That's interesting. Some people say that keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Maybe he has an idea or a tactic that we haven't seen yet.
Make sure you visit On the Spot Live at YouTube, Facebook, or our website for updates and more information.